Up and hello, and this is my channel Anime Just What If, and this is part 1 of What If Kamen writer OOO was in RWBY, so let's start. Remnants of Desires. Chapter 1, Loss of Desires and a New World. I was at home with my mom and little sister as I was reading a book on the couch as my little sister watched TV. "Hey Enrique, can you change the channel please?" she asked. I looked at her. "Sure." I answered as I changed the channel she wanted to watch as I then went back to reading. Like my sister called me, Enrique is my name. I then looked at the calendar and I became sad knowing that tomorrow would be 3 years since Dad died. I didn't talk much to my mom or others except my little sister since my mom got me help, which was going under therapy. Still, it doesn't change the fact that my dad was gone for good. I wanted him to come back. My little sister and my mom, they were also sad that he was gone, but it didn't change the fact that I was broken inside much more than the two. I noticed my mom walking to the kitchen, so I decided to ask her. "Hey Mom, are we going to see Dad again tomorrow?" I asked her. There were times I didn't want to talk much to her. "We will," she answered. "I am sure he will be happy knowing we get to see him again." My little sister looked at me as I looked down. "Can you please be happy?" she asked. I looked at her knowing she was worried. Despite being 8 years old, she wanted to help me. "I will be okay," I said, hiding my sadness. I got up as I walked to my room and closed the door behind me. I slowly slid down from the door as I held my hand over my face. "Dad, why did you have to leave us?" I thought. I looked to my left and saw a picture frame of myself when I was little, showing a smile and my dad along with my mom and sister. It was the last family photo before he died. I got up to look at it once more, and when I looked at it, I saw my reflection. My hair was a bit messy but spiky as well. My skin tone was close to a light ivory color, with dark brown eyes. I put the photo back on the dresser as I just fell onto the bed and decided to go to sleep so I can be ready for tomorrow to see my dad. I slowly opened my eyes knowing that it was Tuesday and I had to go to school. I got up and walked out of my room and went to the showers to get myself ready. After doing the usual routine to be ready for school, I went to the bus stop as my little sister had to wait a little longer for the bus for her school. I saw other kids talking to each other as I just waited. When the bus arrived, I walked inside the bus and took my seat and waited as the bus drives to the school. When I made it to school, I went to my locker as I put the combinations and unlock it. I opened it to grab my books, but it closed and saw it was the same guy who bullies me. He is a bit taller than me with slightly tan skin, blue eyes, and messy brown hair. Looks like Soldier Boy is sad once again. "What's the matter? Can't help yourself?" he said. "Not in the mood, Derek," I said as I was about to walk away until he grabbed my shirt. "Don't walk away when I try to talk to you," he said as he aimed his fist at me. "Hey, you too," a older male voice said. We turned and saw a man who was in his mid-30s wearing the school security uniform. It was Mr. Stewart, one of the school's security faculty. He was also one of the people that knows my dad. "Mr. Derek, unhand him." "Do I have to take you to the principal's office once more and contact your parents?" he asked, sternly. Derek let me go as he walked to class. I looked at Mr. Stewart as I adjusted my shirt. "It's okay, Mr. Stewart, we were only talking," I said. "Enrique, he was bullying you again. I know you've been having a rough time since your father's funeral," Mr. Stewart said. "And I know today is the anniversary, be happy for him." I looked at him before I looked down as the first bell rang. "You should get to class before you are late," he said. I nodded as I walked away. I went to class as I began to listen in on the lecture as well as taking notes and doing classwork. Ever since my dad died, I was also left vulnerable to people like Derek. I was bullied since I started middle school. I wanted to tell others that I was okay, but they still want to help me. I wish they just won't care about me and focus on their lives. After 6 more hours, I walked out of school and saw my mom waiting for me by the car. I waved as I walked to her and also saw my little sister in the car, so I got inside and sat. My mom then drove us for a bit as we made it to the cemetery, the place where my dad was buried. I noticed it began to rain as well, so we got umbrella as we entered the cemetery and walked until we saw my dad's tombstone. I looked at it as I tried not to cry. We then heard the sounds of thunder, making my mom look up. "We should go, you two," she said. "I want to stay here for a while longer, Mom," I said. "I know, but it looks like a storm is approaching," my mother explained, the clouds darkening and rumbling overhead. "Let's go." "I don't want to go yet," I talked back. "I want to stay here longer." My sister was already at the car, having gone on ahead while I stubbornly refused to move away from my father's tombstone. Enrique, it's only going to get worse." Without even waiting for me to respond, she firmly gripped my hand and started dragging me back to the car. I was upset, more upset than I had ever been. Why did we have to leave Dad so soon? "Mom, can't we go back? I wanted to stay," I persisted. She sighed deeply by the wheel, her eyes focused ahead on the road. "Like I said, the storm is only going to get worse. Now will you please let me drive in peace?" She trailed off forcefully, maybe a bit more than she intended. I huffed, not wanting any of it. I wanted to stay. Right next to me, I hardly cared that my sister was squirming in her seat, frightened as she watched the spectacle of me and Mom arguing. I don't think she's ever seen us go at it before, not even when Dad was alive. "Please stop, Mommy, bro, don't fight," she pleaded. I jerked my head to her, ready to tear my heart and lay it all out, but the urge evaporated when I saw how shaken she truly was. "Didn't you want to stay with Dad more?" "Mommy's right, it's going to get cold," her tone was ashen, almost terror-stricken. "We should have just stayed." "So what if we get soaked in the rain?" "It's just rain," I reasoned. The moment my mother turned away from the road, the windscreen drizzled with heavy rain, was when we both failed to catch the subtle, but fast-approaching light. Marie, however. "Look out!" The next thing I knew was being thrown around my seat, body slamming against the door. The rest was nothing but darkness, numb, unforgiving, and cold. Cold? Why am I feeling cold? Wait, what happened? I stirred from what I could barely presume was sleep, only for my ears to be harangued by heavy rainfall. Why is it raining? My eyes, heavy and glazed, were open to mere slits. I tried moving my head to futilely regain my bearings, but much to my ever-increasing bewilderment I couldn't. What gives? What the heck is going on? Slowly, but surely, I started to get some feeling back. First my arms, then most of my torso. Pain. So much pain. What is going on? Where am I? I let out a dull groan, unsure on whether someone was nearby or not. I wanted to move. My legs, why can't I feel my legs? Help, I needed help. Someone, anyone? Mom? On impulse, I immediately thought of my mother. Where was she? Hang on, I remember, Marie? Oh God, Marie! I hinged my jaw tightly, darn it. The muscles in my mouth twinged all the way down to my neck and clavicle. I don't even know what happened. The growing throbs and aches only worsened as my body started to recover from the numbness. My chest was heavy and breathing thin, I moaned from the agony. Tears started spilling from my eyes. Come on, I have to say something. I swallowed a gulp of air, only to get a few light coughs for my trouble. I snarled, my teeth baring, frustration piling up. Having had enough, I forced my eyes open. I blinked a few times to clear out the blur. On that day, what I laid eyes on would be forever etched in the darkest recesses of my memory. Mom. She was on top of me, being suspended by a metal beam, blood running down her mouth. The next sounds to plague my ears were nothing but screams. Screams of anguish. 5 years later. It was raining as I was looking at the tombstones of my father along with my mother and sister. It has been 5 years since my mom and little sister died and 8 years since my dad died. I am now 19 years old. My hair was messy but less spiky and it was short with my height now 5 feet 6 inches. I was now wearing a black jacket with a gray shirt under it, denim bootcut jeans, black shoes, and a dog tag locket that was hanging from my neck as it had a cross engraved on it as well. When news hit about me being the only survivor, they said I was lucky but I wasn't. I lost everything, home, my family, even my own selfishness. I lost everything knowing that it was my fault. I was the reason that my family died. I wanted to stay and look at my dad's grave longer and I paid the price. I learned that wanting, needing, and wishing for things, there is always a price and this is what I get. When my mom died, I was going to be put into an orphanage until Mr. Stewart was kind enough to take care of me knowing that he knew my parents very well than anyone else. In fact, they were close friends. However, I stayed away from my old home knowing that it brings too much memories that I couldn't bear it. I was traumatized from what happened 5 years ago. Even being here at the cemetery brings painful memories. I'm sorry, you guys. I muttered. If it wasn't for me, you would still be here. I placed my hand on the ground before I got up and left the cemetery. I took a bus home to an apartment that I got with Mr. Stewart's help, but I didn't need anything. When I made it back, I walked inside as my room was plain. During my high school years, I was still bullied, but there was one person from all classes that I went to, who wanted to be my friend. Zach was the person who watched my back. We have been friends and help each other out. Though he once told me about this Japanese show called Kamen OOO. He told me that the main character, Eiji Hino, is similar to me. At first I didn't believe him until he gave me a DVD collection of the show in which I watched it and he wasn't lying. Eiji suffered from a mistake he did to help people only for him to be in a civil war in Africa, then his new friend was killed during the process. He lost someone, just like I did. We both had regrets and we both lost our selfish desires. Now he wanted to help like I often do, except I don't help complete strangers, only those I know or can trust. Right now, I looked over the window and saw it was still raining. I also saw my reflection. Despite being happy in front of people, behind my mask was my shattered, lonely, depressed self. I hid those emotions from everyone and everything as years go by. I guess I should sleep. I muttered as I fell onto the bed and slowly closed my eyes. As the night progressed, you can see that I was twisting and turning as cold sweat was shown on my face. We should go, you too. I want to stay here longer. Please stop, mommy, bro, don't fight, she pleaded. Mom. She was on top of me, being suspended by a metal beam, blood running down her mouth. I screamed as I quickly sat up. I was breathing heavily with cold sweat. Every time it rains, my nightmares keep coming back. I placed my hand over my face, masking myself from showing my tears. I slowly tried to calm myself as I looked at the time, showing it was 2:23 a.m., so I laid down again as tears came down my face. When morning was up, I slowly opened my eyes as I saw from the window that it was sunny outside. I got up from bed as I got ready for work. I went to the bathroom and started brushing my teeth. After brushing my teeth and taking a shower, I decided to get myself ready to work and left the apartment. Meanwhile, in another area, well, more like a building in another world, had many priceless artifacts as 5 men in black suits were looking around. You sure this is the place that Roman wanted us to loot? One of the guys asked. Of course, idiot, what do you think with all this stuff lying around? He asked. Now hurry up and bag this stuff. The other goons nodded as they began to bag some of it, but they didn't know that their talk woke up something else. Behind a large box that looked to be ancient, was a small pile of metals. Especially the small pile of metals began moving. It collected itself until it was in a shape of somewhat of an arm as it slowly crawled on the box, and it got hold of a piece of stone on top before it twisted it. One of the goons said. What? He pointed at the old box as it was glowing. Before they knew it, the box became metal coins that spilled out from it before they were taking humanoid forms. Now there was 4 humanoid clusters of the coin as the goons looked at them in shock. What the hell are they? The clusters of strange coins soon took form before revealing creatures that were completely different than the ones they seen. Don't just stand there, let's shoot them. All 5 lowered the bags as they began to pull out some type of gun and began to shoot the creatures. However, their bullets were not working as the bug-like humanoid looked at the 2. It then looked at the other 3 until it looked back at the 2 goons as it simply walked to the 5 goons and it knocked them down easily. You think it is time we explore Remnant once again, after reawakening from our long slumber? The bug-like humanoid questioned. Yes, but I feel something vital is missing. The feline-like humanoid said. A core metal and metal too. The aquatic-like humanoid responded. I saw Ankh holding them before he fled. The feline-like humanoid answered. What? The others said. That bastard, Ankh still is shrewd. I will search for what is mine. The bug-like humanoid said as the tough-looking humanoid punched the wall down and they saw a city from a distance. I found city. The tough-looking humanoid said, pointing at the city. Then I will begin my search first. The bug-like humanoid said as the 4 went into the city. What they didn't know was that the glow from the chest sent the red coin somewhere without a trace, to more precise, went somewhere that it will soon be found. In the city, within a certain building, was a man with black hair that is combed back a bit wearing an apron over a business suit along with a woman with green eyes wearing oval-shaped, blue-rimmed glasses. She has natural blue hair that is styled into a right-side ponytail in a business suit as well. We're making a cake as a screen was showing video footage of the humanoids. They have resurrected. The man said as he finished writing something of the cake. On the cake it said, Happy birthday, Greed. I continued to walk to work as I walked past people here and there. When I rounded the corner, I stepped on something, making me look down. Ha! I muttered as I picked up the item that I stepped on. When I looked at it, it was a red coin with some symbol of a bird, but for some reason, I feel like I had seen this before. Why does it look so familiar? I pondered. I shrugged as I decided to place it in my pocket since it was probably not worth anything. I looked at the path ahead and saw, sadly, that it was under construction. Great! I muttered. Guess I have to make a detour. I took another path as I saw the park. I shook my head knowing it was bringing back memories, but I decided that since I am going to be late for work, I have to get there in time, so I walked through. As I walked, I looked through my phone to see what time it was, but all of a sudden it went static. The hell? I muttered in confusion. I tapped it more, but the screen was still static. I heard the sound of coins nearby as I seeing more silver coins flying past me. I blinked as I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't seeing things. But I am actually seeing silver coins coming from the trees as the trees are vanishing. What is going on? I said in shock. I saw they began to go around me as if it was creating a barrier around me. Oh, okay, this isn't funny. I said as they began to completely create a dome. Soon my head felt some pain, but at the same time I was feeling lightheaded. I fell on my knees as my vision was going to a blur. I fell on the ground with my sight only seeing the last thing I could barely see, the red coin I found as it rolled by itself. From what felt like hours, I opened my eyes and sat up as I rubbed my head. Man, what hit me? I muttered. I slowly got up and realized that I was in an alley. I quickly checked my pockets and around my neck to make sure nothing was stolen, and sure enough I still had my wallet, phone, my dog tag locket, and that strange red coin was on the ground next to me, in which I grabbed it. Still, there was something very familiar about it. Wondering where I was, I walked out of the alley, and to my shock, I was in the city, but not the city I remembered being in. Where the hell am I? I said to myself. I looked around more as I noticed the moon, and to my shock, it looked shattered. What the hell happened to the moon? I exclaimed in shock as I stared at it. Now I was freaking out. I somehow ended in some place that had a shattered moon. I can think of two things. 1. Those silver coins took me to the future. 2. I was transported into some place that was never discovered. I was nervous, shocked, and frightened knowing that I arrived here for some unknown reason. Don't know why, and I don't even know where I am at exactly. As I travel around, most of the places were fairly nice, but still I had to find out where I am at. When I noticed a vending machine, my stomach growled. I sighed as I walked to it until I realized that I didn't have coins, and from seeing it, it only accepts coins. Wait! I muttered as I pulled out the red coin. I wonder if this works. I decided that I was about to place it until I felt a tap on my shoulder. Give it back. I looked over my shoulder as I saw some red arm. Dude, how can it be you? I then realized that the arm was only an arm. Aya! I screamed as I kicked back and fell to the ground. I looked around to make sure I wasn't seeing things, but strangely, I didn't see it. Hey! Hey! The same voice said. I slowly looked at the vending machine and saw the arm appear from the side, making me shake. That hurt. You? Aha! I screamed again as I just ran for my life. What would you do if you had some floating arm going after you? Hey! Wait! Hey! The red arm shouted as it chased after me. I also passed by some shop, but I rather run than hide knowing that I am being chased by a freaking arm. In the shop filled with crystals along with some magazine and food, some people were cowering from a bug-like humanoid as it was walking towards them. He looked to his side, where the door is, and saw a group of thugs wearing black suits with red tie and red-tinted glasses as they suddenly enter along with a man wearing a white suit and white fedora. That greed of yours is perfect. It said to the man with the white suit. Never expected a bug to crawl in this store, he said as he tapped his cigar. A big one at that. He nodded at the thugs as they aimed their guns and swords at the bug-like humanoid. Squish the bug. You two take the dust. They nodded as 4 of the men go after the large bug, and the other 2 quickly collected the now cold dust. They try to attack the bug-like humanoid, but their attacks are inefficient against him as he knocked them to the ground as he approached the man with white fedora. Oof, you really do have greed, he said before presenting a silver coin and flipped it as it was in the air until it went into the top of his hat like a piggy bank. Before anyone knew it except one who was wearing headphones in the magazine section, completely unaware of what is going on, a figure appeared behind the man as it looked to be a mummy. It looked at the crystals that were in the glass before it punched through and began eating them. Hey, those belong to us, the man with the fedora said as the thugs got up. The bug-like humanoid saw the mummy moving a bit until a new figure bursted out of it, revealing a mantis-like humanoid. Find my core metal, the dark bug-like humanoid ordered. And retrieve it. As you wish, the mantis-like humanoid said as it escaped along with the dark bug-like humanoid. The man with the fedora was confused at first until he decided to use this as a quick chance. You guys know what to do, get the rest before those bugs come back for more, he said. They slowly nodded. One of the thugs was collecting some dust until he noticed someone wearing a red hood reading a magazine. I was now from the looks of it, in the center of the city as I continued to run as I look at the coin. Just what the hell was that? I said. I ran until the arm was now in front of me. He slowly rotated, showing his palm. Give it back. It's my body, he said. I swear, his voice was familiar as well, but from where? Before I could think more, he grabbed my shirt. Hurry and hand it over. I'll let you live till then. As much as I want to scream, I wanted to talk after hearing that. And now hold one, I found it when I was on my way to work, I explained with a stutter. Great talk about the saying, talk to the hand. Yet you found it. I dropped it during my quick escape in a museum, the arm said. Museum? Before I could ask him, I heard another voice. The core metal, the humanoid said. It looked like some mix between a human and a praying mantis as it had those blades going down. He split his hands as blades appeared in the middle. Hand it over. Hold on, did he say? Core metal? As in those coins from, you gotta be kidding. I looked at the arm once more. The voice, the red look, being a floating arm, and those wings. I was actually talking to Ankh. Okay, what the hell is going on here? I now realized that the bug was. What were they called again? Before I could think more, the bug-like human slashed coming towards me until the arm, who I now realized was Ankh, deflected the slashes. The bug realized who it was. You. He said. Ankh. Now I am actually not seeing things. I was seeing Ankh in person. Now I definitely wonder what is going on. I haven't watched Kamen RWBY for the past 2 years. Stay out of it. This is my core metal. Ankh said. The two began to fight, but Ankh started to lose from him. Don't interfere. The bug-like human said. Hey! Leave him alone. I shouted as I got hold of the bug-like human. What are you doing? Ankh demands. Before I could answer, the bug got hold of my shirt as it looked at me before it threw me to a table by a cafe. I was in pain as I saw the bug swipe its blades against each other until we heard a siren as I saw some police car driving towards our direction. I soon got a familiar déjà vu now. In the car I saw a man in his 20s with dark hair that was messy as he had green eyes, wearing, from the looks of it, a uniform since the car had the logo of VPD. He aimed some gun at the bug and began to fire rounds, making the monster pissed as it swiped a slice towards the car, causing it to crash. Now my eyes widened as cold sweat was going down my face. I began to tremble seeing what happened as the officer was slowly getting out before he was no more. Now my memories were returning of the accident from 5 years ago as I began to breath heavily. I slowly crawled to the person and looked at him. He looked to be 5 years older than me. Seeing his pained face was making my eyes and body tremble. Wake up! Please get up! I shook the officer a bit. No avail until I noticed his gun. It looked a bit futuristic. I looked back at the monster as it was about to finish Ankh, so I slowly grabbed the gun and aimed it, dumbly, at the monster. Leave him alone! I shouted as I, for the first time, fire a gun as I continued until it was out of ammo. By that I mean I couldn't fire anymore. The monster looked at me, but Ankh took the chance by knocking the monster back. The monster looked at Ankh before it jumped back to avoid another hit as Ankh looked at me. Ankh! Why try to protect a human? The bug questioned. Ankh ignored the bug as he looked at me. What's your name? Ankh asked me. Enrique. I answered. Ankh flew a little back. Enrique, you impressed me despite being a bit idiotic for what you did. He said. I'll tell you how we can be saved. How? A purple glow appeared below him as a rock fell from the glow as he caught it. The bug stood back a bit in shock. Isn't that the seal? He said. Ankh placed the so-called seal on my waist before it glowed as it shattered before becoming a 3-slotted black and blue device with a metal belt around my waist. One side with some kind of scanner while other was some kind of metal container. This was the OOO driver, the actual OOO driver I saw before. Now I remember, this is from Kamen RWBY, but I don't remember a shattered moon or the city looking like this, plus the vending machine was different as well. I also remember that the praying mantis humanoid was the Yummy from episode 1. I wasn't surprised knowing that this was sudden, but one thing, I don't know how to fight. My hand held more than core metals. Ankh said to the Yummy before looking at me. Enrique, the only way for you to survive is to defeat him. Wait, I don't know how to fight. I said. Heck, I never fought anyone at all. Not even a human-sized praying mantis. He was about to speak up until something knocked the mantis back. We looked to where it came from and saw a woman who was middle-aged with very light blonde hair tied back in a bun with a curl hanging down the right side of her face. Her eyes are bright green and she wears thin oval-shaped glasses. She was wearing a white long-sleeved suit that exposes part of her chest, and puffy sleeves that tighten near the wrist before spreading back out near her hands. She was also wearing a black business skirt with buttons running in a vertical line up the front of it and lighter black-brown stockings, black boots with brown heels, and wears a tattered cape that is purple inside and black outside. She looked at the officer before looking at the bug. "I suggest you stand down," she ordered the bug. "Don't interfere." The Yummy shouted as it threw energy slices at her, but the woman put up some seal that actually blocked the attacks. "Quick, Enrique, this is your chance. Doesn't matter if you are new to fighting," he said. "Just hit the monster with your fists." He then presented 2 core medals. I said as I looked at the woman fighting the Yummy. "I'll help. If it means saving lives." "Then hurry up and do it, Enrique," he said before clenched his, hand into a fist. Henshin. When the bug heard that word, it threw more energy slices at the woman before making one hit the light post next to her, making the woman jump back. I looked at the Yummy as I flipped the red core medal before I caught it. I now held the red and green core medal, one resembling some bird while the green one had some type of image of a grasshopper. The Yummy looks at me with horrified expression. "Hey! Don't do it, there is no going back." I inserted the first 2 medals. I have nothing to go back to. I started before inserting the yellow core medal that resembled a tiger. Only the goal of saving many lives. I finished as I tilted the driver. Hank grabbed that round device from my side before showing it to me. "Use this," he said. I slowly grabbed the device, which was the OOO scanner, as the noise was going off. I took a deep breath knowing I will be fighting for the first time in my life and swiped the 3 medals. "Henshin," I said before I moved the OOO scanner close to my chest. "Taka. Tora. Bada. Tatoba Tatoba Tatoba." I became surrounded by spinning colored medals which accompanied the transformation, so I couldn't be too sure how the woman was reacting. In front of me, I spied images of the 3 medals I was using appear. Taka was of course on the top, Tora was in the middle, and Bada was at the bottom. The 3 images then combined into one large crest which flew backwards and into my chest. My body then became enveloped in energy which swiftly hardened into solid armor. My helmet was mainly black, save for the red faceplate which looked like a hawk with its wings spread out in flight. On my forehead and acting as the hawk's beak was a red crystal. I could see through the large eye holes, which was strange since I could see through it clearly when the eyes are supposed to be green. Running from my chin and down my neck was a red line that was connected to the top portion of the image on my chest. My torso armor had rounded shoulders that had yellow lines on them. Yellow lines ran down my arms and into the yellow gauntlets I wore, decorated with what looked like folded claws on the forearm. Lastly, my legs were minimally covered with segmented green armor not unlike that of a grasshopper's legs, connected by green lines to the lower section of the crest I bore. I became Kamen Rider OOO. This was amazing to witness in person. I placed my hands on my helmet to feel the helmet, and it was really real. No prop, no gimmick, not a costume, and not some special effects. This was real. Just what I had hoped for. Hank said before flying next to me. "If you fight, you will understand on what it can do. Remember, just punch your opponent if you want to survive." I nodded before I charges at the Yummy. "Just punch." I repeated as I remembered how Derek aimed his fist at me back in middle school. I did the same and punched the Yummy back as I soon heard a tiger's roar, making me jump a bit. What the dash? I looked at my arms until I saw the Yummy raise its arms and try to attack me, making me raise my arms until I looked and saw long yellow claws of my forearm. "Claws," I said until I remembered what AG did. So I copied the way AG attacked as I moved my arm across as the claws struck him, making him bleed silver coins. "What the? He is bleeding coins?" I said to Hank. "Sell medals," he said. "Now refocus on fighting him." Eh? I responded knowing that I only watched the series once until the yummy slashed my chest multiple times, making me fall onto my back and saw that the yellow part on my arms, shoulders, and the middle symbol was losing color for a moment. What is going on? Enrique. Hank called out as he presented another green coin similar to the bottom one. Switch the middle one with this. He threw the coin at me as the bug was gonna attack me until that woman used some attack as shards of ice appeared and hit the yummy. She looked at me before I switched the core metals and repeated the process and swiped it with the O scanner and moved it close to my chest. Taka. Kamakiri. Bada. Bada. Now the center yellow piece changed into a lighter green than the bada legs as the middle symbol was a praying mantis and my arms have armed blades similar to a praying mantis. All right. Aang said as he floated somewhere near the police car. I looked at the yummy knowing that I got a new piece or some sort. I never had a lot of knowledge of the OOO series even though I watched the show. I charged once more but again, I was displaying horrible attacks, showing I was a definite newbie to this fighting stuff. I did got some hits on him though as he fell backwards with those cell metals bleeding more on him. I heard the sound of the praying mantis as I did the stance Ag did. I charged one more time as I aimed the blades at him. Seiya! I exclaimed as I got a good hit on him, sending him flying before exploding into those cell metals. Whoa! I said as I look at myself knowing I actually squashed the yummy. I then remembered Aang. Hey Aang, where are you? I started as I saw him as he covered the young officer's arm. Now I remember, in the series Aang looked at the officer as he made him stand up. I've found the perfect body for me. He said before I saw the young officer's eyes open up as he was talking with Aang's voice. A blue surge surrounded him as his hair changed into just like the human form Aang I remembered from the show. Now. He started. I can move a bit more easily. I looked at him up close. Is the body you took over, is he? I asked, nervous. What do you think? He questioned. I took his body since he was moments from death. He looked at me. Moved that buckle to its original position. I looked down and did so, reverting me to civilian form. He walked up to me and took the O-driver and grinned. I was about to ask him more questions until the woman confronted us. You two are coming with me, she said, sternly. Ah! I said before raising my hands in the air while Aang facepalmed. After trying to convince the woman that Aang is not a bad guy. She allowed him to go with me but he managed to, well, eat those cell metals with his hand. That was kinda weird to see in person though. But what was strange was that there was less cell metals than I last saw, making me remember that something takes them but Aang was still upset that some cell metals were gone. Both of us were now in an interrogation room with a girl with very dark brown hair that was cut short, stylized to look a bit wild but still neat enough and longer on the right side of her face. Her hair fades to red as it gets closer to the edges. She had pale white skin that emphasizes her hair color. She wearing a black blouse and skirt that both have red trimmings, black leggings, and black boots with red laces and soles. Along with that was a black corset with red strings, a dark gray belt that held bullets. I am not kidding, this girl had bullets on her left side and an actual ammo pouch on her right side and has a silver rose buckle. She also has silver eyes surprisingly and a red hooded cloak. So how did you get here? She started as she looking at us. Well, I kinda had to fight a giant bug. I answered before pointing at Aang. He helped me, kinda. Oh. She said as she looks at him until we heard the door open and saw the woman enter the room. Blondie, I have matters on my hand, so you better make this quick. Aang said. I nudged my elbow, telling him that is not a good idea to say as the woman looked sternly at all three of us before looking at the young girl. I hope you realize that your actions tonight will not be taken lightly, young lady. You put yourself and others in great danger. She said. Those bad guys started it. The girl explained. Can you at least give her a break? I said to the woman. I mean, she might have good reasons to whatever she did to help protect or whatever she was trying to do. I actually didn't know what the girl did, but hey, might as provide some assistance. The woman looked at me and Ank. And you two better realize it as well. You have caused damage and... She looked at Ank. Whatever you did to the officer and put another life in danger. Hey wait, he wasn't trying to put my life in danger. I argued. He did it so we can survive. She ignored my words as she continues to talk. If it were up to me, you'd be sent home. With a pat on the back. I noticed the girl smile as the woman noticed it as well. And a slap on the wrist. She then slams her wand on the table as the girl barely avoids it. Hell, even I jumped from it, but not Ank knowing he is those monsters called greed, or is it greed with an extra E? But there is someone who wants to meet you three. She moved out of the way as the girl was surprised while Ank and I look at him as we saw a man in green, wearing glasses, and has silver hair with a yellow scarf around his neck holding a plate of cookies along with strangely a popsicle and a mug. Ank looked at the wrapped popsicle in the man's hand, as the man noticed him staring at the popsicle. Ruby rose. He said as he leans in to look at her. You have silver eyes. Creepy. I muttered. But I found out that the girl's name is Ruby Rose. He then looked at me and Ank. An arm that took over a dying officer. He said before he looked at me. And you seem to be in a place you don't fit in. I flinched. So, where did you learn to do this? He showed a tablet showing Ruby fighting some guys in suits. My jaw dropped when I saw the video. She was fighting with a large scythe. Who in God's name lets a girl that young wield a weapon like that? More importantly, how in the hell can she fight like a pro? Signal Academy. She answered. The man looked at me and Ank again and changed the footage to show me becoming OOO and fight the yummy. And where did you get this kind of ability? He asked me. I stuttered until I pointed at Ank. He helped me. But you clearly have no combat experience. Ajpan said. It for our survival. Ank answered. I need him to stay alive. I see. He then focused back on Ruby. They taught you to use one of the most dangerous weapons ever designed? Well, one teacher in particular. I see. He muttered as he puts the cookies on the table in front of Ruby and the wrapped popsicle in front of me and Ank. Ank grabbed it, unwrapped it, and began to eat it. I chuckled knowing that he ate 5 in the second episode without a brain freeze. For Ruby, she was eating the cookies in a single bite before shovels the rest. It's just that I've only seen one other scythe wielder of that skill before. A dusty, old crow. Ruby began to muffle through her mouth. Manners, I said to Ruby. She stopped and realized that she still had cookies in her mouth, so she swallowed and wipes her mouth. Sorry. She looked at the man. My Uncle Crow. He's a teacher at Signal. I was complete garbage before he took me under his wing. And now, I'm all like Hua. Which She was doing some karate-style poses and noises, making Ank scoff and me chuckle. So I'd noticed. The man said and looked at me. And you managed to defeat something that isn't a Grim. He remarked. And you seem to show promise as well. Excuse me, but what is a Grim? I asked, confused to him. The woman showed a raised eyebrow. The girl looked surprised that I didn't know what a Grim is, and the man looked at me for a moment before taking a sip. Seems I was correct. You don't fit in and have no knowledge of Grim. Tell me, where are you from? I am not. From this world or whatever. I honestly said. This made Ruby and that woman surprised. How can you be telling the truth? The woman asked. Because I never seen the moon broken, never heard of Grim, never fought in my life, and I especially remember people as young as Ruby not allowed to have weapons. I answered. Do you hit your head or something? Ruby asked. No, but I believe the young man might be telling the truth. Ashbin said. What do you like to know first? What are Grimm? I started. They are creatures of destruction. He answered. They are drawn to feelings of negativity such as envy, sadness, loneliness, and hatred. I clenched my hand tightly under the table knowing that I am hiding those emotions from everyone and everything. I see. I muttered. So what is an adorable girl such as yourself doing at a school designed to train warriors? The man asked Ruby. Well, I want to be a huntress. She answered. You want to slay monsters? Yeah. I only have 2 more years of training left at Signal. And then I'm going to apply to Beacon. She said as she began to talk faster and faster with her enthusiasm growing. You see, my sister's starting there this year, and she's trying to become a huntress, and I'm trying to become a huntress because I want to help people. My parents always taught us to help others, so I thought, hey, I might as well make a career out of it. She giggled and continued. I mean the police are alright, but huntsmen and huntresses are just so much more romantic and exciting and cool and really, gosh, you know. I looked at Ank as he looked at me before looking at the rest and continued to listen. Do you know who I am? The man asked. You're Professor Ashbin. Ruby answered. You're the headmaster at Beacon Academy. The man now named Ashbin smiled. Hello. Nice to meet you. Ruby said. You want to come to my school? He asked. More than anything. Ashbin then looked at me and Ank. What about you? He asked. And me? I asked, surprised. And your armed friend here. Ashbin added. I looked at Ank. Knowing I have to make sure you survive so I can continue to find the medals, we might as well. Ank said. His attitude still the same as in the show. However, a school? Not that you notice, but I am in an officer's body. He scoffed. Perhaps acting as a guard for him. Ashbin suggested. He gave him that usual look he does. I'd rather be someone who keeps him alive. He said. That kinda sounds like a bodyguard. Ruby pointed out. Ank didn't say anything as I looked at Ashbin. If the goal is to save people's lives, then yes. I said. Okay then. Ashbin said. The next day, we were in shockingly, an airship which was awesome as Ank was now wearing that style of clothing he wore in episode 2 as I sat next to him. Hey Ank, why do you care about collecting those medals? I asked despite that I once watched the show at home. What do you think? It is to recover my actual body. He said. Oh. I said. When Ashbin explained to me more about Beacon yesterday, it turns out it is a combat school training students to fight Grimm at the start of age of 17, but I am 19. He thought it will provide training for me, but Ank says we will have to survive no matter where we go, but he was disappointed at the fact that we will be staying there for the next 4 years. Look, Ank, I know you are disappointed that I accepted this, but this will help me survive as well. I will find those cell medals for you. I said. Whatever, if it's to help you survive, then so be it. He said. I was remembering all the episodes I watched of OOO until the both of us then heard a girl's voice. Oh, I can't believe my baby sister is going to Beacon with me. This is the best day ever. She said. We looked and saw that it was a girl who was 2 years younger than me as she was wearing a tan vest with gold piping over a yellow, low-cut crop top with a black crest that resembles a burning heart. The vest has puffy cap sleeves with black cuffs. On the sides of the cuffs, there are 2 small, golden buttons. She also wears a brown belt with a buckle, a pouch, and a small banner-like object. The same burning heart crest appears on this banner, except golden in color. She wears black shorts under her belt, which resembles a pleated skirt in the back. Over the short shorts but under the belt is a white, asymmetrical back skirt. Aside from an orange infinity scarf around her neck, she has no discernible jewelry. She wears brown, knee-high platform boots that appear to be made of leather, with orange socks of different lengths. Her left leg also has a gray, bandana-like object wrapped around the top of her boot. She wears fingerless black gloves underneath her weapons, which resemble two yellow mechanized gauntlets with a black design. Her long blonde hair becomes lighter in color at the tips and flows in a loose and messy manner, with a few locks sticking out and a small cowlick on top of her head. She has a pale complexion and lilac eyes. Ruby looked like she was running out of air from that hug until she noticed me. She quickly ran to me as the girl who apparently is her sister followed. "Hey, Enrique," she said as she approached me. "You know him, Ruby?" the blonde asked her. "Oh, I forgot," she said. "Enrique, this is my sister, Yang. Yang need Enrique and his friend/bodyguard, Ank." Ank scoffed on the word friend. "It is nice to meet you," I said until I noticed the girl now named Yang with a smirk. "Nice to meet you, Enrique," she said before she looked me over. "I gotta say, you sure are cute." She winked at me. I stuttered before looking away. She then looked at Ank. "You don't look much of a bodyguard," she remarked. "You don't resemble anything like her," Ank countered. I was confused for a moment until Ank and I noticed the news. The robbery was led by nefarious criminal Roman Torchwick, who continues to evade authorities. If you have any information on his whereabouts, please contact the Vale Police Department, the woman on the news said. Also an incident of strange monster in Vale and the disappearance of an officer during the incident. Officials are still in search of his body. Soon the screen shows the officer who Ank inhabited. I looked at Ank, who had no care for what happened. In other news, the news was interrupted when a hologram of the woman from yesterday was shown. "Hello, and welcome to Beacon," she said. "Who's that?" Yang asked. "My name is Glinda Goodwitch." "Oh. So that is her name," I muttered. "You are all some of the privileged few who have what it takes to be the next hunter and huntress. And while our world is experiencing an incredible time of peace, that could change in the matter of moments. But as the future protectors of this world, you have the duty to uphold the balance of this world. But by coming here, we are going to be the ones to help train you and give you knowledge to face the obstacles that may come your way. You are the next generation to become heroes and protect this world. Now welcome to Beacon Academy," said the hologram of Goodwitch as the projection disappeared. "One thing's for sure, this is survival for me. Not only I am in a new world, I met Ank, became OOO, performed an inexperienced fight, and saved lives. Maybe this school will help me survive." In the building from before, the man was singing happy birthday as he was writing something on yet another cake. "Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear." He finished writing on the cake as it said, "Happy birthday, OOO. OOO." He finished as he looked at a long box that was wrapped with a bow. Basically a present. He heard the door open as he saw a man with a black jacket, black pants, and a black motorcycle helmet over his head, shielding his eyes. On his side was two short swords that looks like it can convert into pistols. This showed that the biker was also a fighter, the world's protectors, a hunter. The man handed the biker the present. "Give this to OOO," he requested. He was taken to Beacon Academy. The biker nodded and left. "Happy birthday, OOO," he said as he watched the biker leave. To be continued.